Hi friends, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend a little with me. I appreciate you. This week we're turning our attention towards Tinseltown to cover a case that remains unsolved. We're discussing the murder of actor David Bacon. So please join me as we remember David Bacon. Gaspar Griswold Bacon Jr. was born on March 24, 1914 in Barnstable, Massachusetts. The Bacon family was politically active and prominent for the time. His grandfather, Robert Bacon, was Secretary of the State under Theodore Roosevelt, worked as a partner in J.P. Morgan's financial empire, and also served as ambassador to France. His father, Gaspar Bacon Sr., served as the president of the Massachusetts State Senate and as a lieutenant governor. This led to a charmed life for Gaspar Jr., where he was offered the best education money could buy. He graduated from Deerfield Academy Prep, where he was well-liked by classmates and faculty. He then followed in his family's footsteps by attending Harvard. At Harvard, he turned to a different path from his family, taking an interest in acting. He was expected to rise to prominence, but instead explored his own interest. Gaspar trained to fly planes and hung around well-to-do families. His acting career started in a Cape Cod theater where he became friendly with Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda, who were unknown names at the time. He performed in the Hasty Pudding Show alongside John Roosevelt, who was Franklin Roosevelt's son. Gaspar graduated from Harvard in 1937 and joined the University Players Fairmouth, Massachusetts company in hopes of landing more acting gigs. Within this company, he worked alongside Henry James and James Stewart. However, the company wasn't exactly what he wanted, so he decided to leave for New York City to pursue more movie roles. Once in New York, he found work as a master of ceremonies in a silent movie theater. His time in New York is sort of a mystery with little known. It's hinted that at the time Gaspar sold himself to make ends meet while in the city. Many believe the reason Gaspar chose an acting career rather than a political one was due to his preference for men. His acting career in New York was not taking off as quickly as he'd hoped, so with the coaxing of some old friends, Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda, Gaspar moved to Los Angeles with the promise of getting his foot in the door. He was given a screen test in 1939, shortly after his arrival. This changed his life and his name. The screen test led to an exclusive contract with aviation magnate Howard Hughes, who produced movies and was part owner of the movie studio RKO Productions. Gaspar was tall, measuring 6'2", and described as good-looking, sporting brown hair and green eyes. He had the look, but according to Hughes, Gaspar wasn't an actor's name, and instead decided he should go by David Bacon. In 1942, David Bacon received his first movie role in 10 Gentlemen from West Point, and would go on to play numerous roles in several of Howard's films that year leading to the next. However, there was speculation David and Howard's relationship was more than professional. Stories about their involvement ranged from friends with benefits to a committed romantic relationship. And despite these rumors, Howard decided to maintain David's Hollywood career, he would need a wife. He found the perfect companion in Austria singer-actress Greta Keller. Greta's career spanned for nearly 50 years, and she would later in life explain her marriage to David was merely for convenience, so they could both pursue careers. Since, like David, Greta was also attracted to members of the same gender. The two agreed to marriage to save their careers, but behind closed doors they would pursue whomever romantically. So the two married in 1942, and by 1943 were expecting their first child. They moved into a mansion called Castle Hill located on Lookout Mountain in Hollywood, California. 1943 was a busy year for David. Not only was home life changing, but his acting career was really taking off. His parts in Howard's movies not only made his co-stars love working with him, but audiences really took to David. This media attention resulted in another company, Republic Pictures, asking to work with David, where he was loaned out in order to star in The Masked Marvel. The Masked Marvel was a 12-part serial about a masked crime fighter whose mission was to fight Japanese secret agents. Many movies at the time focused on pro-America and anti-Japanese plot lines. Despite the problematic nature of the series, it was promised to launch his career into another level. However, there was an issue. It seemed the masked Marvel was a cursed role. David wasn't the first or even the fourth choice. The 4 previous actors who accepted the job all were injured before or during filming. Everyone at the time called it a cursed role, and even David had a feeling he wouldn't be immune to its reach. He told co-stars, quote, "I better look out or something might happen to me," end quote. And in an eerie twist of events, he predicted where he would be injured. He stated, quote, "I'll probably get hurt going home in my car tonight," end quote. While it didn't happen the night he made the statement, it would prove to be prophetic. On Sunday, September 12, 1942, David and Greta made plans to go swimming at a Santa Monica beach house owned by their friend Geraldine Speckles. But Greta, who was going through a difficult pregnancy, was advised by her doctor to stay close to home, so she decided to take a nap instead. When she woke up, she found a note from David stating he went to the beach house and would return home before dark. But he never did. A little after 5 p.m. in Venice, California, a small English Austin sedan drove erratically eastward on Washington Boulevard. Several witnesses, including a Mrs. B. Watterson, observed the car and its passenger, a man she described with dark hair, from her house on Washington Boulevard as it passed through. Moments later, another witness, 12-year-old Lorraine Smith, and her mother saw the same car almost strike a telephone pole before it jumped a curb near the corner of Thatcher Street and crashed into a bean field. Her mother thought the driver may have been intoxicated. Lorraine got her telescope and watched from a window as the man stumbled out of the car wearing only swim trunks. He staggered for a moment before falling to the ground. Her neighbor, Wayne Powell, ran out to help the man. When he asked what happened to him, the man was unable to answer, and sadly he succumbed to his wounds. It was discovered the man was David Bacon. He was stabbed with a single knife wound that pierced the lower part of his heart. The weapon was later determined to be a 6-inch blade. The nature of his wound showed his attacker was likely shorter than he was. Police were called on the scene where they discovered the interior of the car was soaked with blood, and despite an extensive search of the field, the weapon was never recovered. Inside of the car, they found a camera with only one picture on the film. When it was later developed, the photo was of David naked on the beach. After speaking to multiple witnesses, they got differing accounts of whether David was alone. Some stated he was with a man, while others claimed he was with a man and a woman. Lorraine Smith claimed it was a man and a woman in the car. A statement shared by another man, Donald Roberts, who saw David at a nearby gas station. He claimed, quote, "I saw them pass at 4:30 p.m. Sunday, driving toward the beach, and returned about 35 minutes later. The man was about 5'4" and dark-complected," end quote. He did not, however, provide a good description of the woman. The car was dusted for fingerprints, but only David's were recovered. It appeared there may not have been a passenger at all. In the backseat of the car, investigators found a blue heavy wool sweater. It was later identified as a garment given to Venice High School athletes about 6 years before. It was too small to have belonged to David. Lieutenant Harry Fremont and Lloyd Hughes were assigned to the case, which was investigated for months. Throughout the course of the investigation, many mysterious things were discovered about David and his private life. After speaking to his wife, they discovered David kept a secret diary written in code, but she didn't know where he kept it in their home. The home was searched for days, but Greta's health deteriorated, so the search was eventually called off. She also explained he recently rented a cottage in Laurel Canyon at the bottom of Lookout Mountain. Per Greta, he rented it for a man who was hired to be their gardener. Allegedly, this man was another of David's lovers. Neighbors overheard an argument which supported this rumor. The owner of the cottage was Dr. Charles Hendricks, who met with Bacon and an unidentified man just 48 hours before his death. Dr. Hendricks explained they met at the cottage in order to finalize the rental agreement. He stated, quote, "The friend was rather red in the face, and I gathered that they had been quarreling before I came in, though Bacon himself was quite calm," end quote. He went on to describe the other man as being around 35 years old, 5'8", and evidently Austrian. Dr. Hendricks explained for the most part the cottage was empty, but Bacon was seen coming and going with a shorter man. Dr. Hendricks let police into the cottage in hopes of finding some clues. Inside, they discovered old food, dirty dishes, women's purses, towels, linens, personal effects, a booklet titled Facts of Life, and 2 books, one by Noel Cowards called To Step Aside and another, Delilah by Marcus Goodrich. But nothing of real importance that would help further the investigation. Next, they turned to Geraldine, who David was supposed to meet with the day of his death. Geraldine Speckles claimed David never arrived to her home, and the two did not go to the beach as originally planned. David also left his 3 dogs at home, which was unusual for a beach trip. This led investigators to believe David had different plans. Detectives went around Venice Beach as well, a place many claimed David didn't go by himself usually. However, they discovered 4 people who recognized Bacon as someone who frequented a certain stretch of the beach, usually alone or with dogs. But this again led nowhere. Another possible theory was a bad breakup that ended in murder. The breakup theory was heavily explored due to a strange note being filed with the courts. David filed a handwritten letter in which he left everything to his wife. This wasn't the strange part. It's the fact it was handwritten and not done through his lawyer on an official letterhead. It seemed likely that David felt threatened or maybe in danger. Greta believed Howard Hughes was somehow behind David's murder. She alleged the two were involved in a physical relationship and Hughes was not happy when David tried to end the affair, but she didn't think Hughes did it himself. She claimed he was too rich and too smart, so he would have hired a hitman to deal with David in order to hide the affair. Hughes would have done anything to ensure that nothing was leaked to the public, and with David and Hughes having high-tiered careers, both their private activities needed to be kept hidden. The final theory that detectives looked into was a blackmail attempt. In September of 1943, the LA Examiner was contacted by a man named Blakely Patterson. He was identified as a band singer and actor who claimed to have known David for 2 months. He met David at the Santa Monica beach and they exchanged information for casual conversations. The two apparently had dinner a few times, once in the company of another man. On the day of his death, Patterson claimed David told him the man they ate with was blackmailing him for some unknown reason, and he asked him to go with him to meet them. But Patterson couldn't. Patterson later recanted the story, stating he met a man named David who he mistakenly identified as David Bacon. He admitted the part about extortion was fabricated. Patterson had a nervous breakdown and made up the story in order to get his picture in the paper. He was arrested but released the next day. Other individuals with a possible connection to David were brought in and questioned, but no one was ever charged with the murder of David Bacon. Sadly, on September 20th, 1943, Greta was hospitalized as her condition worsened. Later that week, she revealed her child was stillborn at the Hollywood hospital. After the news of the Bacon's child, his story pretty much fell from the papers. The last update was when a 23-year-old from Santa Monica confessed to police he committed the murder, but he wasn't taken seriously since he knew little of the circumstances surrounding the case. Ultimately, police landed on the murderer being more than likely a hitchhiker. Whoever took the life of David Bacon seems to have gotten away with murder. The LAPD claims to still be looking into the case, stating it's open, but they are not commenting any further on the investigation. The mystery of the masked Marvel has continued to captivate Hollywood for 79 years and has yet to come to an end. This one's quite the puzzle that I'm not sure we will ever get an answer on. But, as always, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, so leave them below and we can chat about it. If you found this to be informative, consider giving the video a thumbs up to let YouTube know you want more. And lastly, if you're not subscribed yet, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. I also read that after David, the people who jumped into the masked Marvel role, there was several others, I guess, who had passed away, and Hollywood really does think the role is cursed, which is kind of creepy. But I also wanted to add, if you guys, any of you, were impacted by the Hurricane Ian, just know I'm thinking about you, the community's thinking about you, and I'm hoping you guys have a speedy recovery process. Hurricanes are never easy, natural disasters are never easy, so you guys are all in my thoughts. But thank you so much for watching, friends. I hope you have a great week ahead of you. We are officially in spooky season, so I hope everybody's had a great start to October. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.